Hello everyone, welcome back to the English Web. I am Bhageshri. In today's video, we are going to be talking about IELTS. In today's video, I shall be focusing on all the aspects of the speaking section, which includes 3 tasks, and I shall be taking you all through some tips and tricks on how to crack your speaking section and how to probably get a higher score. So let's get started. So before we start with discussing the different tasks, there are a few things that you must know when you are attempting the IELTS speaking section. First is your clarity. Now it's more important to know what you are saying and to be able to communicate more than having a specific opinion. Now when you go to speak, make sure that you are confident about what you are speaking. Like I said, the examiner will focus more on your ability to communicate than on what kind of opinions you hold. One of the other things that most people go wrong with is giving one-word answers. Now, one of the questions that most people get asked is, whether they are working or studying. So, don't just say that you're working and end the answer, or you are studying and just end the answer. If you're working, then tell them, which area you work in and what your specialization is. And try and connect that with what you are going to study, because that is why people take the IELTS exam in most cases. So yes, please be specific and just try and communicate as much as possible. Another thing that is very important is your ability to kind of think on your feet. Now, most people take a lot of time, they don't really have ideas and answers when they get asked different questions. You must give spontaneous answers. Now, there are 3 tasks that the IELTS speaking section involves. So, task 1 mostly focuses on having a conversation. The examiner is trying to get you all warmed up, for the other 2 sections. Just let the conversation flow in task 1. The examiner will ask you various questions about where you come from, what your name is, which city you belong to, whether you're studying or working. So task 1 is about Task 1 is more about general questions. Make sure you respond fast or quickly. Don't give one-word answers. If they ask you which place you are from, if I have to say Mumbai, then I also tell that I come from Mumbai, which is the city where I've also grown up. So this becomes a full sentence. So try and use different types of sentences. So using different types of sentences is also key. It's okay if you cannot think about different types of sentences. This is optional, but try and do that if possible. Otherwise, just focus on having a conversation. Before we come down to what a specific task involves, there are a few things you must keep in mind when you're attempting the speaking section. Now, if I'm asked as to what kind of a person I am, rather than focusing on all the different layers that this answer involves, I can just think about reading. So I like reading. So that is what I can come up with immediately. I like reading, and these are the authors that I have been reading of late. Now this answer does not require you to think a lot, so try and use that approach where you don't have to think a lot. I've also mentioned that you have to focus on speaking. Link your answers. I shall elaborate more on this when we focus on tasks 2 and 3. But what this means is, if I am asked what my hobbies are or what my likes are, if one of the likes happens to be that I'm an animal lover, then if I'm asked as to what I do in my free time, then I should always try to link my answer with something like I volunteer at an animal shelter and because of my love of animals. So, I'm linking the two things over here. So, linking your answers again gives you some bonus or brownie points, like they say. No one word answers, like I said, one word answers are a big no no, even if you're asked, a basic question. So, try and give at least, one sentence long answers. Just relax. A lot of students just panic when they are taking up the IELTS exam, and they're worried about what their scores would be like. When you're taking the section, just forget about the kind of score you want, or what the purpose your IELTS exam serves. Just focus on your section, and that will help you perform way better than what you expect. Now, tasks 2 and 3 are closely related. If, for example, task 2 involves you to talk about, say, the culture and heritage of India, task 3 can include questions on whether you think, the culture of India is dying, and how you think it should be preserved. So task 3 is more opinion oriented, whereas this asks you to kind of just share your ideas and your thoughts on specific topics. So yeah, they're quite closely oriented. The best way to tackle task 2 is to prepare yourself on some common topics. I have mentioned a list of topics that are usually asked or addressed in task 2. So, maybe if you don't know an answer to it, or if you don't have an answer to something, you at least know what's going around. So there are chances that you will be having some idea about the topic you are being asked about. Even if you don't, say for example, watch films, you would be aware about the kind of films people around watch, or what the film culture around is like. So my suggestion to you is to do some preparation on these common topics. One of the areas where people go wrong when it comes to task 2 is when they are given when they are given a notepad to jot down their answers on. They sit to think about what to include. That 1 minute is given to you to structure your ideas. So if, for example, I'm asked about my hobbies, I have to not only understand what my hobbies are, but I have to link them to how I fit those hobbies in my day-to-day life, and what I would like to do with them a few years down the line, and how these hobbies have helped me become the person I am. So it's more important to focus on the structure of your answer rather than just throwing your ideas at the examiner. So make sure that you have done some preparation with respect to these common topics before you go out there and speak, or just jot down your points. Another thing that I would suggest is, when you take these tasks and when you start preparing, also use vocabulary related to food or clothes or films. In the same manner, make sure you have some vocabulary related to all of this before you talk. This will just give you that formed base when you're going out there and talking. Whatever you have done with your task 2 will come in handy with respect to task 3. So even if you've kind of you've expanded or tried to look up for different words related to some genre, you will definitely be able to use a lot of those terminologies in task 3. You can just transfer a lot of these terms and ideas to task 3 to give your opinion. Like I said, your opinion does not matter. What matters is how well you're able to express your point. If you are somebody who believes that we must have a lot more green space in our country, then it's not about your opinion that matters. It's about how well you justify why we should have more green spaces instead of more residential and commercial places, and why you think that will help us. If you're asked about, say, the film culture, don't just say that I don't watch films. Fair enough. If you don't watch films, why is it that you don't watch? And what, according to you, is negatively impacting our youth, when you talk about films? So make sure you have all those reasons and you have enough to talk about. Try to touch upon as many points as possible if you don't want the examiner to ask you about other things, because a lot of times if you're asked to talk about 2 minutes, people are done in 1 minute, and then the examiner has to ask you about other things which you may not really know about or you may not want to talk about. So this way, try and extend your answers and make sure you touch upon all the points so that you kind of give an answer that is required and there is no need for the examiner to ask you about anything else. So that is another tip that I would share. Just try and give answers that are just fully formed, that touch upon multiple points, so that there is no need for the examiner to ask you about other things related to this. Because if the examiner is just getting one line answers, then there are chances that you will be asked about many other things. So if you don't want to do that, just try and give as long an answer as possible. Don't go overboard, of course. So this was about how to attempt the IELTS speaking section. This is pretty much everything that goes into your IELTS speaking section. I took my IELTS test 2 years ago when I was going to London for my studies, and one of the things I experienced was how the examiner was focused on ensuring that I was having a conversation. And the reason why I scored 8.5 was because I was focused on having a conversation with her, and I was trying to understand what it was that she was expecting. I was also trying to focus on building a conversation around my answers. So I hope you all also try to do that. Of course, if you are well prepared, you will not have to fumble and just take pauses to think. If you all have any questions related to any of these points that I just mentioned, please don't forget to leave them in the comment section below. I'd be happy to address all the questions you have. If you all have liked this video, please do not forget to give it a big thumbs up. I shall see you guys soon. Goodbye.